AFR Talk. Kevin McCullough just updated the Facebook page with links to all the stories that we use. And, of course, as I said just before the break, all the stories that we do use at the website The Binge Thinker each day. TheBingeThinker.com is the name of that. I compile the 6 stories that I am pulling from and put them all in one spot for you, so it makes it easier. But this story about Burger King, it's... Oh, man. I cannot wait until I ask the lovely bride about this today. She edited all 3 of my best-selling books, and she's one of these people that, even to this day, when I write my weekly column and just reading other people's stuff, she is, she's a little bit of a grammar Nazi. She's going to have opinions about this. I just have this feeling, and so I'm going to spring it on her at dinner tonight. So, babe, Burger King says, be your way. What? I can already hear how it's going to start. 888-589-8840. So glad you're with us. Let's talk to Gunny from North Carolina. Hi, Gunny. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Yes, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call, and thank you for what you and all of AFA does for us.
Thank you.
Regarding Burger King, I'm going to take a turn from Brian Fisher. I think that what Burger King has done with this new slogan is they have joined Big Gay of America. I think that's what Be Your Way is. In light of the football player, in light of what way our culture has gone with the homosexual agenda, I think that's what Burger King is doing here. I think they've just fallen into this, and that is their new thing, is to be your way. And I think it's a sexual expression. I think that's what they're going
but part
for.
of the problem there is, and they may be doing that to attract, let's just say your hunch is right, because we have no evidence at all that anything you just said is true. But let's just assume that the hunch is somewhat accurate. Are there a lot of gay guys running around eating burgers? I mean, is this a target audience for them? I don't see that happening. Maybe it's a new thing to attract a different revenue cycle of business. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be very successful if that's the end goal.
Well, the thing of it is, and I think it's like with the NFL, if the NFL goes to promoting this, if ESPN and others, they're going to start losing a lot of audiences. Burger King is going to start losing business because people they're starting to stand up more and more over this. And if that's the way they're going, it's going to be unfortunate.
Right.
Again, I'm just, like I say, as you would say, we haven't been given an explanation of this. But when you just look at the culture of today, it just seems to be their slant on this. It's like, that little hidden meaning in there is to be your way. And until they come out and really say otherwise, that would just be my guess, because it seems to be the way things are going.
Right, yeah, and Burger King did say in a statement that they wanted to remind people that they can and should live how they want anytime. It's okay not to be perfect. Self-expression is most important, and it's our differences that make us individuals instead of robots.
Sounds very code-like to me, doesn't it to you?
Well, if you're a conspiracy person that looks behind every single thing and sees, look, could it be a wide open door for the homosexual agendaed people to walk through? Absolutely. But unless they start accompanying this with rainbows on their marketing materials, I'm not going to automatically read that into it. Why should I assume that they are anything other than what they say until they show that they're something other than what they say?
Well, it would be...
Why should I assume guilt instead of innocence?
Well, unfortunately, I think with the way some of the things have gone in this country, you take the president, okay? The man can claim he's...
Gunny, the president doesn't run Burger King, okay?
Right,
I understand that everything is Barack Obama and the gays' fault, but please try to do some degree of logical connection for me here. How did you get from... be your way to the way of the gay? Just connect the dots for me.
Well, I'm just saying that you're saying take something for face value. The president says a lot of things he wants to take for face value, but those face value, we've discovered there's one scandal, everything after another. You can't take things for face value.
Well, but here's the thing. You're going to find, but Gunny, I'm very different than a lot of people in that regard. And from this standpoint, I don't want people to judge me at more than face value. So if I write a column and I say this is my criticism of something, I want to be judged on the merits of that argument, arguing that point. I don't want people thinking that they can look inside of my head and know what the secret recesses of my heart say. I don't think that's a healthy way to have conversations with anyone. The thing about the president is when I come to this microphone and I criticize something that has happened that he has had a hand in, I bring to you evidence of what it is. I bring to you evidence that he said yesterday that he found out on the news, and in reality, we found a document that said 7 years ago he knew about the problem. I don't ever think it's okay to prejudge people. And that bothers me if we're doing that in the name of Jesus. Because the point is, you should find the legitimate things to criticize based on the evidence that might exist and criticize them for the value of the evidence. If you start making stuff up, seeing Martians land from out of the sky, you're not going to end up with you're not going to have credibility when you bring criticisms. So I'm not mad at Gunny. What I want people to understand is you cannot sit and be a conspirator and see everything for anything other than what it is and expect people to go, okay, you have a valid point. Because if you're not basing it on anything, then you don't have a valid point. And the last thing we need to be doing is communicating things that don't exist, communicating things that are only living in our brain or only in our imagination. Is the Burger King slogan a red flag that should be run up the flagpole and go, hey, what are they doing there? And does that leave a door open? And could there be something for that in the future? Absolutely. But again, until they start, sponsoring the gay pride parades in the city and wrapping the Be Your Way idea into that type of stuff, I don't know that it necessarily means that. And we look foolish when we go, oh, well, they're a bunch of homo friends. Like, I don't think that doesn't help us. We need to base our criticisms on facts. We need to live in the world of facts. We need to obliterate confusion, friends, and confusion can come from overly assuming things, because you can be adding things to the equation that don't exist. We need to obliterate confusion. We need to amplify truth. And then we pursue clarity. And you can only pursue clarity when you've done away with the confusion and you're looking for things the way they are. So when I criticize President Obama for saying, well, I saw it on TV, I didn't know about it till I saw it on TV, that's a legitimate criticism today because we have a document that demonstrates that he knew about it 5 years ago. Oh, and this happens to be the third time in a row that he said he found out about it watching TV after the fact. None of that is presupposition. That's all factual information. And that's where I think it's important that if we're going to be people of character, then we've got to draw the line on truth. We've got to communicate with truth. And seeing gay boogeymen behind every, bush that's out there, that doesn't help us communicate truth. And I want to be someone that communicates truth. Let's go to Joe in Louisiana. Hi, Joe. Glad you're with us.
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for taking the call, man.
Sure thing.
I appreciate what you do, and I pray for you guys every day.
Thank you.
I live out here. I'm close to an Army base out here in Louisiana, and my wife's a school teacher, so most of her students are, Army kids. And so we have a lot of interaction with Army, parents,
Right.
Whether they're the ones deployed and the ones here, we get to talk to them, a great bit, and just to, kind of, they share some things with us, we help them pray with. But one of the things that, President Obama says he didn't know, regardless of if he didn't know or if he knew, there are some things that he does know concerning our military, especially when they come back from a deployment.
Mm-hmm.
Just some of the benefits that they are receiving. I think they should be better. I think our government should pay our soldiers more, because when you think about what our president himself is getting paid on a yearly, basis, and then, from what I understand, he'll get paid just for the rest of his life. Then you think about an NFL football player or NBA basketball player and what they getting paid, yearly. And then you think about men and women that choose to go and fight for our country and they come back with missing legs, missing arms. They come and, majority of them come back, with just a lot of, traumatic brain damage, you would think that they would be well taken care of. And I'm not saying they're not being taken care of, but I feel like it could be a whole lot better.
Well, at the very least, Joe, and I'm not making light of what you're saying at all, but at the very least, they should begin by getting what they're promised. And what they've been promised and what they have been receiving are two different things. And that's the tip of the spear. What you're talking about and identifying probably goes well beyond that and probably should. The problem here is that we're not even fulfilling the promises we've already made. And I want to go back to the it's not an overseas duty thing. It's an issue of what happened here. But the Fort Hood incidents, particularly the first one, because they labeled that workplace violence, the administration thought, well, that it was okay then to not pay them the benefits that they should earn from people who lost their lives in the act of serving in military duty. And because they weren't in a forward operating area, they said, well, they weren't really on deployed, so they don't get benefits for someone that's killed in the war on terror. Well, wait a second. A terrorist showed up at Fort Hood. Yeah, he was dressed in Army fatigues, and he went nuts, and he happened to work there. But he still killed people in the name of jihad, and in the name of terrorism, and in the name of doing these things, horrible things to him. The very basic things we should have done was fulfill our obligations to those 13 families, and we still haven't. And these veterans that are in these incredibly long waiting cycles to try to get basic health care, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. Basic promises to our military men and women, at the very least, the very minimum that should be expected is that we keep the promise that we've already made to them. And then to Joe's point, we can probably do a bit more and still be good. Let's talk to Sharon calling from Ohio. Hi, Sharon. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hi. I'd just like to make a comment.
Okay.
If President Obama first heard about the things going on with the Veterans Administration on the news, he must be listening to Fox News then, because ABC, CBS, and NBC don't mention it.
Well, and it would be one of those things that he probably wouldn't like admitting that.
Right.
However, Sharon, I think that they probably do monitor Fox pretty well.
I think they must, yes.
It's the most watched news network, so I would think they have a vested interest in doing that. Let's talk to Rob in Louisiana. Hi, Rob. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, I had a comment on the statement of Burger King where they said that the reason why they changed their slogan was to reflect that they didn't want people being robots. Having worked in fast food for many, many years, that's what they want you to be when you're working in their kitchen. They don't want you to stop. They say do 100. They want you to get 100 done in the time it takes to do 30. They don't want you breathing. They don't want you going to the restroom. They don't want you taking a break. And they want to pay you as little as possible. You talk to them and they act like they're squandering that $7.25 an hour they're paying them people to keep them in business. They were stealing Chivas Regal from their hands, by having to pay us, a sub-minimum wage. And then they just work us, and when we can't do no more, they fire us.
Well, they don't pay you sub-minimum wage, do they? They're not allowed to pay you less than minimum wage.
They would if they could. They
that may be so, but should anybody be planning a big career from working the burger counter at McDonald's?
No, but they also shouldn't, just work them without, breaks and work them and then.
Well, that's a different issue, and I say let a lot of high school kids hold those jobs because it's good. It's good to teach young people very good discipline, and when you're on the job, you should be working. I mean,
yeah.
That's the thing. We shouldn't be complaining about, if I'm standing at the burger counter, my job is to make burgers, and so I should make burgers as effectively as I can for the time that I'm there, and when I have my break, I have my break. But that's the honorable approach to work. Now, I may hate the kind of work that I'm doing, but if I'm going to do it, I should do it to the best of my ability.
True. Yeah, what I was saying, though, it's like they want them all to dress alike, they want them all to act alike, they want them all.
Oh, absolutely. They are the robot crew, and I've seen them back there, so I know how they work. Let's go to Robert in South Carolina. Hi, Robert.
Hey, I do really love your show. Thank you for having me. So
Absolutely.
I didn't really want to disagree with you, but seeing gay boogeymen around the corner, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't an act on the part of Burger King to be proactive in accepting any.
That might be entirely true, Robert. That might be entirely true. I'm being cautious about saying that it is at this time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, we live in a culture that if you're not super acceptive of these things, then you're going to be punished for it. And if I could see it as a part of being on them.
I still believe philosophically there's a world of difference between telling someone to be an individual and to express their sexuality. Until Burger King says,
why would a food service restaurant, I mean, it's a food service industry, why would they not advertise for anything other than just food?
It's always been their thing. It's always been the have it the way you want it kind of thing. Look, I'm not saying that it can't be used for a greater, larger purpose, and I'm not saying that those that have concerns about it shouldn't be concerned. It raises a flag. You might say, okay, we're going to watch this. But don't go out there and say things that it doesn't patently say right now, because that's not being honest. Let's be honest above all else. I'm Kevin McCullough, AFA Today, AFR Talk. We'll see you next time. Brian Fisher, the Silver Fox, on the way.